Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 1st of May 2024, and these are the stories that we will be highlighting in the course of the show. Of course, today is the 1st of May, so our first segment is going to be about the Labour Day. Starting in 1884, the Labour movement that called for strikes and protests on the 1st of May to push for an 8-hour workday culminated into a movement, and that is what is celebrated or observed across the world every year on the 1st of May. Most across the world apart from the US, where it is held in September. Nevertheless, the International Day the International Labour Day is being observed in Pakistan as well as many countries across the world with a commitment to uphold workers' rights. The theme this year is to ensure workplace safety and health amidst climate change. Many public and private organizations are holding seminars, have already done seminars, conferences to highlight the importance of health care and of course taking care of the basic rights of the workers. There have been very important statements from our Prime Minister, our President, our Chairman Senate, and of course there is a lot of importance around the workers, where there are informal workers or formal workers, and what needs to be done and what kind of implementation needs to be put into action in order to devise proper rights for these workers, whether they be in Pakistan or across the world, is what's going to be the main topic of our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns serious human rights violations and the regrouping of terrorist elements and organizations in Afghanistan. The UNHCR has recently taken out a report in which it highlights the different serious human rights violations that have been occurring in Afghanistan. This is also something that we have been talking about during the course of our last months and years, whether it be how they treat the women, how they treat the girls, how they treat the children, the denial of education to the women and children, the denial of basic human rights, the denial of also basic human rights to all the journalists that speak differently or have a different tune than the Afghan interim governments, or also those who are working for basic human rights of the people. This is going to be just one part of the issue that we are going to highlight today in our second segment, that is a serious human rights condition in Afghanistan. The second is a statement by the Russian defense minister that talks about the regrouping of terrorist organizations in Afghanistan. This is something that Pakistan has been highlighting time and again since a very, very long period about TTP that has been affecting Pakistan directly because their basic grounds or they are being grouped in Afghanistan, and despite different times that Pakistan has tried to highlight this with the Afghan side has done little to react or to respond in kind. But the TTP is not the only terrorist organization that is regrouping in Afghanistan. We've got the ISIK, we've got the Al-Qaeda, we've got the ETIM, and we've got so many other organizations that pose a threat not only to Pakistan but also to other neighboring countries, including Russia, including Iran, and including many other Central Asian states, and China, of course. And this is what we will highlight as the second part of this second segment. Then, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about AstraZeneca. If you remember, during the COVID time, we had different vaccines that we were being given, and we had to take them to take care of ourselves. Now, what has come out recently is that AstraZeneca has admitted that its COVID vaccine could cause blood clots. There was a lot of question marks even during the time of the administration of this vaccine. Some of the organizations had taken out certain concerns, but now it has been proven because AstraZeneca, the company behind the vaccine, has itself said that this in very rare cases does cause thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome. This causal mechanism, they say, is not known, but this has been confirmed by the Telegraph, which is a British newspaper. Also, this is being done because the pharmaceutical giant is being sued in a class action over claims that this vaccine developed with the University of Oxford caused death and serious injury in dozens of cases. Finally, we'll be talking about scientists that are creating jet fuel from landfill gases, from carbon dioxide and methane from a landfill, and they say that this could fuel a jet engine. This is of course a clean energy. This is of course energy that could be used efficiently and is not as expensive a source as are others. So let's see if that really gives rise to a proper mechanism through which this kind of fuel could be used in jets. Let's begin with our first segment, and that concerns Labour Day, 1st of May, being celebrated since centuries, let's put it that way. And in Pakistan also, this Labour Day is being observed with many symposiums or organizations getting together and highlighting the importance of the Labour Day. Also, the theme this year is to ensure workplace safety and health amidst climate change. We've been joined by two guests. Let me introduce them to you one by one. In the studios, we've got Afshan Tehseen. She's the CEO of Human Capital Pakistan. Afshan, thank you very much to have joined us. And online, we've been joined by Adrian Pereira. He's the Executive Director, North-South Initiative, and he joins us from Malaysia. Thank you very much, Adrian, to have joined us all the way from Malaysia. We'll begin with the Afshan. Afshan, the thing is that, you know, we hear always about the 1st of May, about it being the International Labour's Day, and we listen to a lot of people talk about it, the importance of labourers, the highlighting all the efforts that they are putting in our society, for our nation as well. If we look back in 1884, the Federation of Organized Trades and Labour Unions had passed a resolution stating that 8 hours would constitute a legal day's work from and after the 1st of May 1886. We have gone, I mean, a lot of, a couple of hundreds of years have passed since then. How far have we come since, as far as the basic rights of the labourers is concerned?
First of all, Omar, thank you very much for inviting me to this very, very important, issue, child labor. And first of all, let me just congratulate, and let's pay tribute to all the, laborers in the whole world, including Pakistan. We must acknowledge their work, their contributions, without which we could never think of our existence. And their importance we had realized during pandemic 2019, when everyone, all the people were locked up. Even the domestic health which was provided to us, all the industry, all the laborers, and we thought that life has come to a standstill. And then and there we had realized the importance of all those people who contribute, who are laborers, who are help, everywhere. So definitely that was a bigger realization. But as you have said that, in 1886, this movement had started in America, in which people had demanded 8 hours labor a day. And then later on in 1889, UN had decided that there should be an International Labour Day. And after that, at least one good thing was that a benchmark had set 8 days. If you talk about the whole globe, definitely the advanced countries, the bigger, most advanced nations, definitely they have compliance, but then there are areas in which still they are struggling with issues of legislation, issues of implementation. So if we take the case of Pakistan, within Pakistan it varies. If you talk about all the bigger brands, the bigger industry, since all their business and outputs are linked with the compliance, definitely 8 hours a day is there. But still huge chunk of labor in Pakistan exists where they are still facing denial to this basic right of 8 hours a day. Maybe it's sometimes more than that.
All right. Yeah. Let's come to Adrian. Adrian, the International Labour Day makes us commit anew to uphold the workers' rights. The theme also this year is to ensure workplace safety and health amidst climate change. What measures, in your point of view, from a regional perspective and from a Malaysian perspective as well, need to be taken to ensure workplace safety and health?
Thanks for having me. I would first like to give recognition to all the workers, including the migrant workers who make a difference in the world. And I'd like to share that there are many Pakistan migrant workers in Malaysia who have really worked hard, putting their life at risk, doing different work, just so that Malaysia can develop. So my full respects and salute. At a global level, there are 3 trends that is going to affect labor. And while the ILO, being a tripartite body, has put occupational safety and health at the core, yes, it's driven by some of the climate-related realities. And the just transition, while it is happening, it's still a bit slow because some of the industries are really stubborn and in a shock and may not want to shift into the what we call the green economy. So you can see the slowness in oil and gas. And as we are creating new types of jobs, we're not calculating the new risks that come with this job. So as everyone is rushing into electronic or electrical cars, the impact, we can already see the impact on the mining sector, and it's devastating. There are already accidents that are happening. So it's almost like from the frying pan into the fire if we don't take it seriously. The second trend is, of course, the business and human rights discourse, where the global supply chain related laws are getting more prominent, and we just saw the Europe putting in place due diligence related laws. So this is going to affect global supply chains. And the last trend that we can see happening is, of course, the nature of work that is changing itself due to the gig economy. And the pandemic already showed how the flexibility of work, working from home, these trends are now going to shape, and unfortunately legislation and practice, and even the trade unions are not have not adjusted their own labor standards yet.
All right. Stay with us because we are going to have a to and fro conversation between the studios and you. Afshan, Adrian talked about the ILO. Now, efforts are underway to ratify the ILO Convention on OSH in Mines number 178, underscoring Pakistan's commitment to ensure that miners have access to OSH or OSH that are compliant with international standards. This was said in a press release on Tuesday, quoting our Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. How do you see this measure?
I think we should first of all take it very positively, because even today you see the whole media was full of certain news about the positive commitments by the government, by our Prime Minister, by our President, by our Chairman Senate. So I see this something very positive in the right direction. And definitely government of Pakistan with the support of ILO is doing a lot on the legislation, on the health and safety standards, on compliance in all the 4 provinces, and they are, I think, doing a lot, and government wants to do it. It's just a matter of time. It might be a bit slow, but government is moving in the right direction.
All right. Adrian, various public and private organizations in Pakistan held different seminars and different get-togethers to highlight the importance of and the role of the workers in our society, the informal and formal workers. I'm sure this has been the case in Malaysia as well. How important is for us who are part of different societies, you are part of the media, I am part of the media as well, to recognize the important role the laborers have played in our society? What, as human beings, is our social responsibility in your point of view?
So if you look at the nature of work and how it's changing, mobility is increasing, and it's not just social mobility but physical mobility, and many of the solutions are still very dependent on the Western model of what OSH is. So the voices from the third world countries, the South, has not been heard yet. So we need to be careful about the one size fits all solutions, and hence more grassroots, more south to south dialogues need to happen, especially between workers. And of course now with mobility, the role of migrants, whether they are about to leave the country or when they return, what is their safety, what is their health conditions, and this is rarely monitored because we have rarely used the south to south models to talk about OSH.
All right. Afshan, in his message, our Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif honors the immense sacrifice of the workers who laid their lives while waging a relentless struggle for their rights. He talks about the families of the workers also, who are the driving force behind Pakistan's progress. He talks about the enhancement of the occupational safety and health, which is the OSH, across various sectors. He also says we will be convening the inaugural National Tripartite Labour Conference with a special focus on safety and health. In your point of view, as somebody who has experience in this domain, what should be the agenda of this inaugural labour conference, and who should be the stakeholders?
First of all, let me tell you that he has pointed out the right, I must say, issue of safety and health. and security, and paying tribute and acknowledging the contributions of all those who laid down their lives. I think we should even make it a bigger priority. And definitely Pakistan needs to ratify the protocols on health and safety and security. And about this upcoming conference, I think it's a very, very positive step, and this should be dealt as soon as possible. Just few suggestions that in this conference, all the current and relevant stakeholders should be invited, from the government, from the donor sector, from the labor unions, and even the society at large, because all the stakeholders need to work through a convergence approach to complement each other, to share their issues, and to just give a consolidated input and report that what needs to be done at the national level. And this is a need of the hour, because if you overall see that the laborers have a direct role in our economy. If they are not being supported, or compliance is not being ensured, this is going to be a big issue, as shared with by my colleague, that now it's not that simple. All that compliance needs to be ensured, because all your internationally, your DSP plus, your commerce, everything is linked. All the industries products are linked with compliance. If it is not ensured, and categorically in the agriculture sector, which is where 22% of your overall GDP is based on agriculture, and all the 1/4 of your GDP provides support to the 3/4 of the Pakistan's employment. So over there you need to show compliance, and this PM should be I think congratulated, because they have highlighted a very important issue, and that conference would be, if really based on the issues at the ground, like prevalence of a proper database system where all the information is there, which should be used for policy and practice, and then all the legal frameworks which needs to be strengthened. Under those legal frameworks, the institutions needs to be strengthened to provide all the services to the through industry, or through to the laborers, so that we can at least boost our economy. Thank you.
All right, Adrian, in Malaysia also the International Labour's Day has been observed and celebrated across different facets of life and society. Of course, in Malay it's called Pekerja Kesuma Bangsa, if I'm not wrong, or if I'm pronouncing it right. Now, your Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim has announced the government's plan to raise the salaries of civil servants to record level next year, and this is the first review in a 12 years plan. This planned salary increment comes under what your Prime Minister says is a new human resource framework, which is going to raise the minimum pay for all the public sector workers to RM 2000, among others. Also, your Minister for Economy, Rafizi Ramil, also said that there is going to be a plan to introduce a progressive wage policy. How important are measures such as these for the laborers, for the workers in Malaysia?
Yeah. I mean, increasing the wages is always beneficial for workers and also the economy, because there's more money to spend, and those are welcome by the public servants, of course. After the pandemic, and Anwar has been in office for less than 2 years, but he's been struggling to bring reforms, and this is one of the reforms in an ever more competitive global economy. So, but it's not just about increasing the wages. He has also challenged the public service to become more productive, because historically it has been very notorious about the low productivity of the public service or the public servant. So it's trying to challenge those who are actually running the government, those who are the backbone of all the political decisions, and of course looking at our neighbors who are actually gaining the competitive edge, especially in education, in supply chains, in better management of resource. Definitely Malaysia has to catch up and compete, but it shouldn't just compete according to the standards of capitalism. There's a lot of South-South rethinking that needs to do. What is this development about? And it's definitely not just about wages.
All right. Afshan, our Prime Minister coming to Pakistan says that sustainable economic growth is the top priority. He also says that new job opportunities demand a skilled labour force and recognizes the key role of skilled workers in economic development and calls for initiating vocational training and skill development programs to empower the workers and enable them to secure employment opportunities both at home and abroad. How important are such programs?
I think they are extremely important because in Pakistan you have skilled workers as well as unskilled workers, and then there is just particularly talking about the informal sector where you have lots of labor workforce, but they have the indigenous knowledge, but all they need is to polish their skills to make them compliance with the required standards. Now that we talked about all this international compliance, so that our products are based on quality, all the compliance on safeguarding standards, all the compliance on health standards, on safety and security standards, on insurance, that needs to be put in place. And particularly talking about the skilled labor force is more important because the more skillful they are, the more they can generate revenue within the country, and there are opportunities of going abroad also. All we need is to put more focus on such avenues where these skilled workers have I must say ease of doing all their jobs, or it is at the doorstep. And particularly in this era of information technology, we should maximize on the use of digital technology where they can be provided skill training on their doorsteps, and they can be provided.
And there's a huge demand in countries such as the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, China, other countries also for such skilled workers. Final question, Adrian, what challenges lie ahead for the workers community in countries such as Malaysia?
Yeah, so there's a big percentage of workers still in informality, and that includes the migrant workers. And what me and my organization, the North-South Initiative, has been struggling to do is to bridge the world of trade unions and the migrant workers. So while the global trade unions are very clear, there should be non-discrimination, everyone should have access to equal social protections, labor rights, but on the ground, a lot of historical animosity is still there, and cultural communication competencies are also missing. So together with governments, with the business sector, we struggle to bridge the different worlds together, and hopefully labor rights will be protected in a very holistic manner.
All right, let's hope for the best for workers all across the world, whether it be in Malaysia or in Pakistan. Thank you very much, Adrian Pereira, to have joined us, Executive Director, North-South Initiative. Thank you very much, Afshan, to have joined us, CEO, Human Capital Pakistan. And of course, it's a pleasure to have the both of you to get different perspectives of workers' community and what are the basic issues as far as they are concerned. Thank you very much to have joined us. Let's come to our second story, and our second story concerns the serious human rights violations and the regrouping of terrorist organizations in our neighboring country, Afghanistan. First of all, there is a report that has come out by the UNHCR that talks about these human rights violations in Afghanistan. This recently published report talks about Afghanistan shifting to ancient times since the Afghan interim government of the Taliban came into power. It talks about all the different kinds of gross human rights violations in Afghanistan, whether it be the Afghan people who are facing severe physical, mental and sexual abuse by the Taliban, whether it be the violations of the international humanitarian laws that have steadily increased since the Taliban have come into power, whether it be the former Afghan National Security Forces personnel that are also being targeted, under which 800 personnel have already been killed, whether it be the journalists, civil society activists, human rights defenders and minority communities. The Taliban have subjected them to different kinds of atrocities. Between January 2022 and July of 2023, the United Nations has recorded more than 1,600 incidents of human rights violations in Afghanistan, while between November 2022 and April of 2023, the United Nations has reported more than 43 cases of corporal punishment in Afghanistan. 58 women and 274 men, including children, have been flogged for various crimes in the Taliban regime. The Afghan media has also been facing immense restrictions and difficulties since the Taliban seized power. Since the month of August in 2021, 245 cases of media freedom violations have been registered, including 130 cases of detention, physical violence and arrests of 61 journalists. That and more, and of course also a recent comment by the Russian defense minister that talks about the regrouping of terrorist organizations is also going to be part of this very important segment. We've been joined by two guests. Let me introduce them to you one by one in the studios. We've been joined by Brigadier retired Masud Ahmed Khan Sahab. He's a defense analyst, sir. Thank you very much. Pleasure to always have you here. And our second guest is Zahir Shah Sherazi. He's an Afghan affairs expert and he joins us online. We'll begin with Brigadier Sahab. Brigadier Masud, the UNHCR takes out a report very recently, 29th April 2024, on the ongoing gross human rights violations in Afghanistan. This is something that we have discussed in the past as well. But this report reinforces what we have been highlighting and talking about in the last couple of months. Violations of humanitarian laws, different kinds that have increased since 2021, since the Afghan interim government took over. Extrajudicial killings, revenge killings, torture, degrading treatment, enforced disappearances, arbitrary arrest detentions. Which kind of effect, in your point of view, could or would a report like this will have on the Afghan interim government's policies?
Thank you very much, Omar, for giving me this time to discuss this important issue. And first of all, Afghan Taliban, they have almost completing 3 years now. In August, they will be completing 3 years. But they have failed to come up to the desired expectations, the commitment they have made to the international community, and secondly, their dismal record of human rights abuses, violations, and secondly, they also failed to come up to the expectation when they were supposed to crack down on the militants operating from Afghanistan's safe havens. And certainly, so therefore, as far as the human rights is concerned, as I said, the record is very dismal and abuses. The Human Rights Council has highlighted some of the important issues. As also of the United States State Department, they have also issued a report on these human rights violations of Afghanistan. Basically, as you said, they have reinforced the reports issued by the United Nations Human Rights Council, but they have also highlighted some very important aspects. But as far as this, as far as the impact is concerned, it is up to the international community to take these steps. They have been the violations, the abuses, they have been highlighted by this council and the US State Departments. But no, it is up to the international community, United Nations, to take some concrete steps. Otherwise, they will continue with these activities and the human rights abuses of treating women, especially the minorities or the other political. They are also cracked down on the political activities.
What is very interesting about these reports, both these reports, is that they highlight different aspects of the society that have been subjected to different kinds of how should I say, violence, one way or the other, since the Taliban came into power. Bundling both reports, they have said they have talked about former Afghan National Security Forces personnel who are being targeted. They talk about 800 personnel who have been killed since the Taliban came into power. They talk of journalists, civil society activists, human rights defenders, minority communities. They talk about 1,600 incidents of human rights violations in Afghanistan between January of 2022 and July of 2023. The UN also talks about the period between November 2022 and April 2023. Where there have been 43 cases of corporal punishment there. 58 women, 274 men, including children, have been flogged. Shouldn't these strict measures or inhumane measures that are being implemented in Afghanistan be looked into very seriously by those countries that can pressurize Afghanistan?
Exactly. These are something very some serious reports they have come up, but it is not up to the international community, as you highlighted, and United Nations. This is a requirement of some concrete steps beside taking some forming some a body or a robust organization to address these human rights violations and abuses in Afghanistan, comprising the United Nations, the international community, the human rights activists across the globe, and even from the civil society of Afghanistan, comprising and then suggesting the strategy to address these issues. This could be the one step in this direction. And secondly, there could be that the international community should ask or give a deadline for the Afghan interim government to take steps to address this issue, failing which there could be sanctions, there could be travel bans on the important Taliban leaders, and extra, and you have to take some strong steps.
But
to
Brigadier
address
Sahib, what I
them.
fail to understand is 3 years. You yourself
Yeah.
talk about 3 years
3
that have passed. Why is there such a silence as far as the West is concerned?
That is very unfortunate part of the whole story, that they are silent. They are basically, they are commenting, they are issuing the reports, but they haven't taken some concrete step. Probably this impression is that they have given a free hand to the Afghan Taliban to go ahead with the crackdown on the human rights violation and on crackdown on the minorities or the other ethnics, leaving aside the ruling elite. So these are the factors, and I don't know what they are trying to do with this, but this is certain that international community has failed to basically implement those agreements. The understanding of Doha Accord, subsequently then the recent conference which was held under the United Nations, especially in Doha. Then there was the envoys conference in Afghanistan. Then there was a collective security report. Then there was an observation made by General Pereira before the United States Senate Armed Committee, highlighting his concern to the United States Senate and the Parliament, and also the emerging threat from Al Qaeda and the ISK. But despite all this fact, still they are showing their concern. The United States State Department focus was on 2 points, that Afghan Taliban, they are involved, they are basically spreading terrorism, and they are also threatening the peace and stability in the region. This is they have concluded. So the threat is real, and they understand the threat is there in the region.
There's a difference between understanding and implementing the measures.
Probably, and they are basically ignoring and given a lenient attitude as far as the Taliban are concerned.
What will be the tipping point, Brigadier Sahib? What could be the tipping point before the important countries in the West start taking action, till such time that their countries are not, attacked by such
Exactly. This is
forces?
what it is said. Those basically mastermind the 9/11. They were in Afghanistan. They have still re-emerged in Afghanistan. Al Qaeda. So now they are threatening the West, and also they are on the record. The General Pereira said the Islamic State, they has the capability to strike Western interests, United States interests, without warning or little warning in next 6 months. So they have done recently. They have demonstrated their capability in Moscow. So the threat is, as you said, there is a likely chance that they may strike anywhere in the West.
But at the same time, we see the all kinds of international humanitarian laws being flouted, not being implemented in any way whatsoever in Afghanistan. Whether it be media freedom that is no longer there. There are so many cases of media freedom violations that have been registered. Detention, physical violence, arrests of around 61 journalists. Then all laws, policies or rules which could work in the right direction for Afghanistan have all been abolished. Then all the judges that are presently there in the courts have been told to release all the Taliban prisoners that were there in different jails in Afghanistan. Taliban's cabinet is made up of only male members. We have already talked about it in the past as well. The Taliban have also dissolved the Election Commission, the Parliamentary Affairs, Ministry of Peace. Will Afghanistan, in your point of view, again, this is a continuation of the previous question, be allowed to continue with such policies? And how important is the role of regional states? Pakistan has time and again, reiterated its concerns to Afghanistan, which have fallen on deaf ears. What about the other countries? What about Iran? What about China? What about the Central Asian countries?
They have shown their concern repeatedly, and recently, as I have been telling in the past, the presence of the terrorist organization, the groups, they are threatening not only Pakistan, they are threatening Iran, they are threatening Central Asian Republic, they are threatening Russia. They demonstrated the capability in Moscow. They are threatening China, Eastern Turkestan, Islamic movement, and recent reports, they have basically expanded their area of influence from Badakhshan. They have gone to Baghlan now. So the Chinese, they also understand that the threat is real. And most importantly, the Dasu attack, which was carried out in 2021, it is reported that Eastern Turkestan Islamic movement assisted the TTP elements in carrying out attack, because they are unable to carry out attacks inside China. So therefore, they are targeting Chinese national and the Chinese interests in Pakistan. So Eastern Turkestan Islamic movement of Uzbekistan, they want to overthrow the secular government and they want to impose their version of Islamic Sharia. The Tehrik-e-Taliban, Tajikistan, they are also striking. So all these political parties, they have allegiance. Afghan Taliban, they have affiliation with the Al-Qaeda. So the threat to entire region, so they have shown their concern. The collective security and more recently the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, they have discussed this issue, the threat emanating from Afghanistan. But unfortunately, the Afghan Taliban, they have not taken a single step or a crackdown on this militant organization operating, despite the fact the international community, Pakistan, they have given their concrete evidence, their presence inside. Even when we carry out the strikes inside Afghanistan, when in the coast in Paktika, so if the strike was precisely on those targets where the TTP elements were present.
All right, Brigadier Masud, also you talk about the SCO and the defense ministers getting together to highlight the what is happening in Afghanistan. I'd like to refer to what the Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu has recently said, and he said terrorists in Afghanistan are a major threat to regional peace. Exactly what you've just said in your answer. He also talks about Afghanistan emerging as a safe haven for terrorists since 2021. And that this unrest has been fueled in the region since the time that the Afghan interim government is in place. Why, in your point of view? This is a question that I've asked you before as well, but we need to, for our audience sake, highlight this time and again, why is the Afghan interim government harboring all of these organizations?
There are two factors. One is these organizations, these terrorist organizations, there are 23 organizations, major factions or groups operating inside Afghanistan. They fought along with Afghan Taliban against NATO and US forces. That was one factor. Secondly, they have allegiance to Afghan Taliban.
What kind of allegiance?
Allegiance, they will fight next to them, and basically they are following their code, their version of Islam. And so that is one, and they have a close affiliation with Al-Qaeda as well. So that is also a factor. Then Al-Qaeda and the Afghan Taliban, they are the one. And most recently we have seen reports coming, the Afghan Taliban, the Al-Qaeda getting stronger. At the same time, they are earning millions of dollars through this drug trafficking, and basically now they are controlling the drug trafficking routes, Al-Qaeda and Afghan, and they are also sharing the seed money to the rest of the terrorist organization. So these are the factors. And in case of Pakistan, basically the Afghan Taliban, they are using these TTP terrorists as a leverage and also a bargaining chip for their own interests, of their economic interests inside Pakistan, at the same time pressurizing Pakistan to talk with these TTP terrorists according to their terms. So which is not acceptable to us. These are the factors why they are harboring these terrorists. That's why, if you recall, when Mullah Omar was asked to he was asked he should tell Osama bin Laden to leave Afghanistan, or he should be handed over to the Western countries, but he refused because of that allegiance, and he was hosting them. He was hosting them at the time. Now these terrorist organizations are hosted by the Afghan Taliban present regime, and since they have allegiance, so I don't see any crackdown on these terrorist organizations in the near future, and we haven't seen Afghan Taliban cracking down on the TTP. But unfortunately, the worrying aspect is Afghan nationals, the Afghan Taliban, they are now basically participating along with the TTP elements in attacks inside Pakistan. So far we have killed around 66 Afghan nationals in various encounters with the Pakistan security forces. They were part of attack on our post in Chatral. Then in most of we have seen recently killed in Ghulam Khan crossing, and subsequently in Pashin, then in Zob Kent attack, Muslim Bagh attack, Afghan nationals were there. So 66 killed. So there was a surge of 70% and 500% suicide attacks. There was a surge. out of probably 24 attacks, 7 were Afghan nationals. So that is how Afghan nationals know they are part of TTP attacking inside Pakistan.
All right. I'd like to refer to a statement made by the Foreign Office spokesperson earlier last month, where the gist of it was that Pakistan has ruled out talks with the TTP. The Foreign Office spokesperson says Pakistan expects the Afghan authorities to take urgent action against the terrorist outfits and their leadership for the crimes that they are committing and the terrorist incidents that are responsible for in Pakistan. Also adding that Pakistan remains committed to fighting against all these outfits which have targeted Pakistan and the symbols of Pak-China friendship, because of course this is also what they are aiming at. Is this statement clear enough as far as Pakistan's stance is concerned on this very issue of terrorism emanating from Afghanistan? Despite this, many statements, many delegations that have gone to Afghanistan, we still don't see a proper reaction from Afghanistan. Is it deliberate? If it is deliberate, what do you foresee as far as the future of such terrorist outfits that target Pakistan is concerned?
First of all, there will be no talks as far as TTP is concerned. And we have previously we did have a sort of a talks and understanding with them, and resultantly that was went against the interests of the country. So Chief of Army Staff has made it very clear there will be no talks as far as the terrorist organization is concerned. We can have talks with Afghan Taliban. They are responsible. They are running the Afghanistan government. But there will be no talks as far as the terrorist organization is concerned. But at the same time, basically now the TTP has become a proxy of Afghan Taliban, as well as they are also acting as a proxy of basically India. As you highlighted, that their attacks, their involvement in attacks of Chinese interests, basically it is in the interest of the India basically. That's why they are targeting the CPEC project and also Chinese national. The two attacks carried out, one was Dasu, the second recently was carried out in Basham. Now it has been established that TTP is again, they are also behind this attack. So they are basically targeting Chinese interests in Pakistan. So therefore there is no possibility of talks with the TTP organization, but still we can go for talks with Afghan Taliban, provided that there is some role or some important understanding or some guarantees are given, which is I don't see likely in near future from Afghan Taliban. Unfortunately, they haven't shown any flexibility or sincerity towards our sincere effort right from 1947 fighting for Afghanistan, and basically look, we lost about 80,000 people. They were martyred in the war on terror, including 8,000 of our security forces, and $150 billion lost to the economy because of the Afghan war. So more Pakistani is killed when we compare this with the wars with India. So it is basically Afghanistan which has caused most damage to Pakistan. That is very unfortunate part of it, but it is in the interest of Afghanistan because nobody is ready to extend recognition to Afghanistan. If they continue with this harboring these terrorists, and they continue with this abuse of human rights violations, I don't see any country going to recognize them in the near future.
All right, I understand it. I'd like to end on a sarcastic note where the Afghan Taliban deny that the TTP is using the Afghan soil and urge Pakistan to look inwards to address its internal security problems. I say sarcastic because it is full of that and full of blatant lies as well. I would have loved to discuss this very question with you because I know you're inkling to it, but we have to finish the show. We are a bit short of time. Thank you very much, Brigadier Masud Ahmed Khan Sahab, to have joined us. Let's come to our last two stories very quickly. The first is the AstraZeneca, one of the COVID vaccines that was used across the world. Now, the company behind this COVID vaccine admits that this vaccine could cause blood clots in rare cases. This name had become a household name all across the world, in the West specifically, because the US and in the European Union, this vaccine was used extensively by the people during the COVID era. And now it is being, in an official statement, said by the company, the pharmaceutical company behind AstraZeneca, that this vaccine can, in very rare cases, cause thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome. The causal mechanism, they say, is not known. This, of course, covishield, as we call this also, was developed by the British-Swedish company in collaboration with Oxford University and was produced by the Serum Institute of India and was widely administered in around 150 countries. One of the complaints is also that the vaccine causes a permanent brain injury after the blood clots, which prevent people from working. There have been certain examples of this. Whether this will take a proper legal course is something that only time will tell, and we will be highlighting that as well. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, in a world first, the University of Sydney researchers have developed a chemical process using plasma that could create sustainable jet fuel from methane gas emitted from landfills, potentially creating a new low carbon aviation industry. Now, methane, as we very well know, is a far more potent greenhouse gas than is carbon dioxide. Now, according to the International Energy Agency, the concentration of methane in the atmosphere is around 2.5 times greater than pre-industrial levels and is increasing steadily, with waste emissions and the burning of fossil fuels accounting for the significant proportion. Now, this becomes a very interesting perspective as far as jet fuels is concerned, because this could prove to be extremely effective in this whole climate change arena. This could be very effective as far as going towards carbon neutrality is concerned. So we will also be looking forward as to whether this could be in effective implemented for the different industries across the world for their jet fuels and their jet engines. Only time will tell. We wish the company all the very best. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of the newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new stories that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.